Dates not just yet. 6:53. Let's go ahead and get Shawn Gumataotao on. Shawn, I know you're here to promote the latest episode of That's It. That's all the podcast. But I just wanted to ask because in the governor's comments, I had noticed that some of the language that she's using, beating the surge. This is why we're where we are right now. And so I know it's a campaign year, but just interesting. I want to bend your ear a little bit about how do you campaign on COVID because it kind of seems like a lot of politicians struggle with it because I think they present it as like a black and white win loss type of situation. So. I mean, when we hear politicians, I mean, not just the governor or President Biden or whoever, when they talk about COVID and they say things like we're beating it or we're winning, I'm just not sure how that goes over with the public. So, just what are your thoughts as you know, a political analyst, a former communications guy with the Camacho administration?
Yes. First off, good morning, Chris and Joe, and good morning to everyone that's listening. I guess when I look at it, you're right. It just doesn't play well. Remember, when the electorate thinks of what are the most important issues of the day, health, safety, education. Now, the COVID response will be not so much an issue of anything more than leadership in COVID. So when we think of this particular, I guess, the statement of using it, you're absolutely right. I don't know if there's much of an upside for folks to use COVID and that because across the board, and not just Guam, but across the country, leaders are being pretty much taken to task for what has been 2 years of either action or inaction. Has their reaction been realistic and reassuring? And we talked about this since the start of our talk on containing COVID when the link first started. And that is basically where this all stands. It's a public health emergency. And if we look at it in those terms, if we, you can separate a political response, but I just don't know how successful that will be later on in the Decision 2002 activities.
Right, right. Sean, you got a new episode of That's It. That's it. That's all. I keep wanting to say that's hot par.
Yeah, first off, my stomach was hurting when I was watching you and the season ending of your participation. And if they're listening, my kids said, "Dad, if they ask you, jump on." So yes, I'm willing to try. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I definitely would love to have an opportunity to be on that, pretty much on that little program. But when I, man, this one is a bit more, again, random thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's, living in Southern Guam, Chris, it's, as you can attest, it's a different way of doing things. Talk a little bit about time management and obviously what's happening with the Decision 2022 races. And you can literally go on and on and on and on about what's happening, but I just gave my 2 cents about what was happening, at least from my perspective. Haven't had a chance to since all of the last couple of weeks. So it was just a chance to be able to share my little thought on it.
All right, let's go ahead and play this clip, guys. That's it. That's all with Shawn Gumataotao on the KUAM Podcast Network. Good morning.
Decision 2022 in Guam is in full swing. My former boss, former Guam Governor Felix Camacho, and Senator Tony Ada will be on the ballot for governor and lieutenant governor of Guam this fall. The Republican team has got the backing of every GOP member, family, and elected official. When they launched recently, the peanut gallery exploded. Even with the fit and start to an official launch, the Democratic Party of Guam could only muster a reflection on the Camacho administration from 2003 to 2010 as, quote, both unremarkable and unmemorable, close quote. Yes, the incumbent governor of Guam, specifically her campaign chair, had some words too. Quote, we are all in the midst of the most difficult times in Guam's modern history. We continue to be focused on the people and their needs, maximizing the $1.5 billion in critical federal assistance for our people, aggressively moving ahead with hundreds of millions more in infrastructure assistance that will bring new jobs and save our economy, all while continuing to protect the precious health and safety of our people during this COVID pandemic. Close quote. Yes, the incumbent governor of Guam, specifically her campaign chair, had some words too. Quote, we are all in the midst of the most difficult times in Guam's modern history. We continue to be focused on the people and their needs, maximizing the $1.5 billion in critical federal assistance for our people, aggressively moving ahead with hundreds of millions more in infrastructure assistance that will bring new jobs and save our economy, all while continuing to protect the precious health and safety of our people during this COVID pandemic. In totality, Democrats and their strategists could hardly contain themselves. They have a race. That is, if they can survive a primary challenge. Guam Congressman Mike St. Nicholas is expected to kick off his campaign in mid-March. He is expected to run with a political neophyte and former military leader from Guam's Army National Guard. Now, I heard a name in recent meetings in recent weeks. Now, I could throw it out there on this podcast, but why have him run away from the gig with less than 2 weeks before kickoff? That is politics. Now, I've been hypercritical of the cookie congressman from Guam. His aspiration to the seat is significant. Recent ads of his touting the quote,
Well. On that note, Sean, we had a comment right when we came on. Someone commented, "Hey, Chris, Congressman Mike St. Nicholas, is he running for governor?" I think it's interesting that all the buzz I'm hearing about Congressman Mike St. Nicholas running for governor is coming from Republicans.
I guess we're probably talking to one another. The party on the other side is having some issues, it looks like. But it looks like it's going to be a race. And I think the community is excited about it. I think the teams are getting behind it. Yes, Republicans are talking about a primary because it is going to be about monitoring what will be the next couple of months. So obviously, as a group, we're all going to watch. Yeah. So it makes a perfect sense to do so.
There was a release, Sean, I wanted to share with you.
Sure.
I like this kind of stuff. I love it when they go back and forth. Democratic Party of Guam put out a release it was Monday. I didn't see this. I don't know if I'm on their mailing list.
I'm not.
Yeah, it says, it's just kind of a weirdo, rando press release. Okay. Do Guam Republicans agree with Trump that Putin is smart, savvy, and a genius? The Republican Party's leader has spent the last week shamelessly praising Vladimir Putin as the Russian military indiscriminately bombs Ukrainian civilians. Republicans have worked hard to avoid answering questions about Donald Trump's praise, but that simply is not a tenable position as the Ukrainian people bravely fight back against the invasion. As long as Republicans look to Donald Trump as their party leader, they have to answer for his reckless adoration of an authoritarian. So every Republican has to answer a few questions. Sean, you're a Republican. You ready?
I have no problem answering a question. What's your question?
Do you agree with Donald Trump's praise of Vladimir Putin as savvy, genius, and smart? Do you condemn his praise? Do you agree with the Republican Party of Guam's endorsed candidate that Joe Biden is not the duly elected president of the U.S.? Would you still support him if he runs for the GOP nomination?
Okay, so the question is, I'm not a big fan of the statement. We already know that we have a president of the United States. And so for the Democratic Party to kind of go a little bit to the Trump thing is absolutely, well, quite frankly, pretty crazy right now. I think Democratic parties all across the country, I think they did a little bit of an email blast and they cut and pasted just to make sure that we all were well aware that Democrats are all standing up against Donald Trump. So I wouldn't be surprised if the chair just cut and pasted it. Yeah. I don't think that was about as original as it's going to get from the Democratic Party of Guam,
it is interesting to me because, Trump obviously is no longer the president, but we kind of saw the same thing with the former Governor Calvo and kind of like that specter that they would raise that, he might run again. But I wanted to read you this. The Republicans, of course, fire back. Okay. Democrat Party.
Not to be outdone, right?
Yeah. So the Republicans sent a release out responding to this one. The Democratic Party of Guam is distracted and needs to focus on priorities. The release issued by the Democrats mirrors the very concerns island residents have been echoing since the start of this pandemic, which essentially is, quote, what exactly are the priorities of this administration? It's been more than 14 months since President Donald Trump has been out of office, and yet they continue to place so much energy and time to talk about him that they fail to focus on questioning why the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration held on to millions of dollars in a federal relief aid for our community in 2021 as they suffered, only to start talking about how they'll spend some of those monies as their re-election bid gets closer. What purpose will be served in asking registered Republicans or anyone in general about Trump or Putin? Will it bring food to the dinner tables of Guamanians who lost their jobs? Will it allow children to go to school comfortably without a mask? Will it help with economic recovery? All these issues that need to be addressed while our elected governor casually danced the night away over the weekend. It won't do anything but set the course of the island backwards. The Democratic Party of Guam has completely forgotten about the people of Guam. They're too distracted with President Trump and obviously very nervous as the Republicans will field a very formidable gubernatorial team that they are failing to concentrate on what exactly are priority issues. Maybe instead of using political hires on the taxpayer dimes to draft their messages, they should focus on making the taxpayer their caps lock only priority. End of statement. Full send.
Okay, so that was very snarky and as wordy, perhaps, as the Democratic Party's cut and paste of the National Democratic Party's release. But again, we're in that time of year, Chris, and on a Monday, is it really dry? Moving the needle, if you will. Yeah. And you can expect that over the next couple months, it's going to be one of those back and forths. Actually, it has been a while since both parties have been kind of going back and forth. And then now it's a matter of, do you, when you're listening, if all you listeners out there, if you're hearing all these statements from both parties, is it going to dictate whether or not you vote for one guy or the other? That's going to be really what this is all about. And quite honestly, it's pretty good stuff actually for I guess for the start of the week. Can't complain. That's actually pretty good political theater.
Yeah, I hope they keep it coming. Shawn, thank you. The podcast, it's up everywhere podcasts can be found, including the Apple Podcast Network.
That's
Shawn?
right. Yep, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music. We're also on the iHeartRadio app and on Pandora. And again, we really want to thank everyone for listening. And we are very proud, Chris, to be a part of the KWAM Podcast Network. I cannot tell you the response that we get often about being a part of that important group of podcast creators. And really, it's bringing so much to support what's happening with KWAM. And we're just, again, very excited to be a part of the KWAM Podcast Network.
Thank you. You have a great weekend. And you're off on Monday, right, from UOG?
I am off at UOG, but that doesn't mean that the Gumataotao house is going to be not so busy. So I will be taking care of them. You know how that goes, Chris.
Yeah, I sent Sabrina a message last night. I was like, hey, 3-day weekend. And she sent me back an eye roll. So I think we got some work to do on Monday too, my friend.
Yeah, I think so.
Take it easy.
You have a great day, and you'll have a great day too.
Right on.
I will. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, these Democratic Republican Party releases, I really hope they keep them coming. I mean, my take on the Democratic Party releases, and even when we had the party chair, Tony Bavalta, on, I just don't think, and it's my opinion, I don't think the people of Guam give two cares about is President Biden duly elected or Trump this or that. I think they're really, and it shows a big disconnect, I think. Like, we're not waking up obsessing, and I think that these releases, they're really more for the party people. Just to stroke each other and feel, you know what I mean? That's what it's really about. I'm not invested in, is President Biden duly elected? I don't really care. I just don't. We're trying to live here, right? We're on Guam. There's a lot of stuff going on here that needs to be addressed. So the tone of the Republican Party release, I get it, right? What are the priorities of the administration? Yeah, I mean, it's so easy for every Democratic Party release, it's going to come out about, I hate Trump or whatever. The Republicans are just going to tee off all day about, hey, why are you talking about Trump? There's a lot of stuff going on here in Guam. And, call it broken clock, if you will, but they would probably be right because I think the voters definitely want to hear more about what is going on here on the island. And so it's interesting to me. There's a back and forth, right? So the Democrats came out with that. Then the Republicans responded and said, hey, but you're sitting on all this money. But we didn't see a Democrat Party response to that response. So let's keep it coming, guys. I don't know who's in charge of releasing the Democratic Party releases, but you got to clap back to this one. You know what I mean? That's something I like to see. Shawn, take it easy, my friend.
Oh, I didn't want to log off right away because I was listening, and absolutely, I totally agree. It's just like a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun in Guam.
And it's just getting started. 7:08, quick break, and we're coming back with Landon.